Alright everyone, welcome back to Planet Zoo. It is episode 5 and we're continuing on our Ruby Basin project. Today, as you can see from the thumbnail, we are adding the pygmy hippo. I wasn't sure quite how to start this build because we kind of exhausted all the pathways that we'd already made. So before building the exhibit, I spent about an hour messing around with paths and kind of moving different structures around to try and create a place that we could actually view the hippos from. You'll of course have a closer view of this in the tour, and you'll probably catch a glimpse of it every once in a while whilst my hyperactive ass whips the camera around constantly. But to be honest, there isn't that much to see, it's just a bit of framework for me to organise the next few builds. But that's enough about stuff you guys aren't seeing. I think it's about time we start talking about what we're actually building here in the time lapse. As you guys might know, this Ruby Basin is pretty much in the exact bottom left of the map. But I have a little elevated part that's kind of at the same level as the rest of the map, even further into the corner, so the Ruby Basin is kind of surrounding it, which is where I plan on putting the kind of staff area for the Ruby Basin, because of course we have different work zones. I don't think you guys have actually seen that, but I have different work zones. For example, we have one for the micro house, which I have 2 keepers and a caretaker set to. Then I have a temporary one for the Ruby Basin, which includes red pandas, the hippos, flamingos, and now the pygmy hippos. And they have about 5 different keepers, so they're kind of assigned to a different set of staff centres, which is good for making sure every exhibit is at the top of its health and the staff don't have to walk too far to get food or clean, for example. The only problem with putting the staff area in that top corner is the fact that it won't be connected to the rest of the park, but hey, that's their problem, not mine. But in all seriousness, if the keepers didn't need the path to actually walk, like of course they would in real life, you don't need an actual path, you can just walk on the grass, they would be able to get out the park. So it's not that big of a deal, it's not great for the game, but realistically speaking, I don't mind it that much. Of course, if you guys disagree with that, I'll probably be able to figure something out, I'll just switch around a few of my plans, but for me, not a big deal, and yeah, I'll see how you guys think about that. I cannot express to you how annoying parts of this habitat were to make. I've cut most of it out, but I messed around for maybe half an hour trying to make this waterfall with the kind of glass technique that I used earlier near the red pandas and the hippos. And the exhibit borders for the pygmy hippo were also a pain because it's kind of lining straight up next to the normal hippos exhibit. But even using the null barrier, it was such a pain to try and make those exhibits go alongside each other but not connect, because when they connect, what seems like 2 separate exhibits can only have one exhibit entrance for the keepers, meaning that one of them simply can't get any maintenance. Either way, after tons of trial and error, I figured it out and the exhibits work just like they should. But now it's time for the best bit, making the exhibit actually look good and look natural with plants and terraining and water features. I can tell you one thing, it's really weird how you start to kind of learn the exact names of all the different plants. So whereas before I'd just say in my head, oh, I want a palm tree, or I want a big tree, or I want a thin tree, now I can say I want a cecropia or a wimber tree. Yeah, that's right, I just said cecropia, I've been practicing. Suck on that, high school English teachers. But yeah, it's learning simple stuff like that that just helps you build exhibits that much quicker, and to be honest, it's really useful in the long run. It's about now that I should start working on the path that goes over the habitat. I already have some supports going under it for the river, and I've done it in a similar style upwards near the red pandas too, but the angles of this path were so specific that I really couldn't angle them properly without spending hours upon hours doing it. So I figured just adding some simple wooden supports with even spacing would work just fine for the purpose of this. And if I'm honest, it starts looking pretty damn good in the end. But with that said, we've only got a couple minutes left of the time lapse, so I'm going to leave you all to watch it, and I'll catch you all in the real-time tour at the end of the video. See you all in a minute. Alright guys, so here we are in real time. I'm starting up here because not only do I want to show you the exhibit that we've built just now in the time lapse, but I also want to talk to you a bit about the layout of this ruby basin because it has been changed a bit. So as we go down here past the red pandas exhibit, as you guys have seen before, there used to be a little kind of restaurant or a little toilet area here. I've removed that. I don't think the positioning was great and the building was pretty ugly if you ask me. So I've decided to uproot it, and over here on the left you see we've got a huge canvas, and this is where I planned on building the restaurant called Red Hot Chili Pandas that I mentioned a couple episodes ago, and it's going to be a proper kind of oriental design, lots of red and white, maybe a tiny bit of black, that kind of thing. So almost like a kind of sushi restaurant, if there's any better way to describe it, I don't know. But when you're working in close quarters like that, it can be really annoying for a time lapse because, to be honest, the camera angles just aren't great. So I'm thinking about doing this in a stream. Now obviously all the other guys on the channel do stream, and I don't at the moment plan on doing them regularly every week like they do, but I wouldn't be against doing the odd spontaneous stream to finish up a couple things that we've done in these episodes, and then I can upload it to the channel after, so that if you want to, you can watch the streams at a later date. They simply won't be edited like these videos are. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. Would you like to see a couple live streams building up this little building? So if you have any suggestions for stuff to do in the live stream, including this building of course, or if you like the idea, etc., please feel free to let me know, either leave it in the comments or join the Discord. I'll always answer you guys no matter what. It might take me a while, but I'll always make sure to respond to your guys' messages. So of course, if you have anything you want to say, feel free to message me. I also wanted to talk about the paths. As I mentioned last time, I want to kind of keep these double paths going. So I've extended this path going along here and over there up into this kind of higher elevated part of the basin. And as you can see here, the path actually goes over the pygmy hippo exhibit. It wasn't completely planned, but to be honest, when you're walking along these pathways, I tried to keep in two kind of sight lines. So from here, you can see up there by this little tamarind tree, I think it's called. Let's have a look. Yes, tamarind tree. Perfect. And you can also see this little lake, and then from over here you can see this lake and the little feeder. So there's kind of two different primary points for viewing them. The rest is kind of if they're hiding away or something like that. It's just nice to be able to see them from different angles. And we did the same thing with the hippos. We've got this platform to look into the exhibit from this side, and then way over here you can look over at the dam from here. I know this exhibit is pretty big just for 3 pygmy hippos. In fact, it's nearly the same size as the hippo and flamingo exhibit. And I considered putting another animal with them, but the pygmy hippos don't actually like living with any other animals. If I just search up here, as you can see, there is no interspecies bonus here. So if I did put another animal in, it'd work just fine, but they wouldn't exactly benefit from each other. And there aren't many other animals that I want to put in the basin in this kind of swampy region. These are really the only animals that suit it in my opinion, or at least the only animals that I want to have in this zoo that suit it. For example, peafowls or saltwater crocodiles, they might suit the area, but they aren't endangered or vulnerable or anything like that, so chances are they're not going to be in the zoo. And we have plenty of space, so I figured, you know what, there's no harm in giving them a huge exhibit, and so they've got this entire space. There's a couple things I want to touch up, like this area, but as I mentioned, I'm probably going to be doing that kind of thing on stream. I also still haven't covered in the rock wall on the back of the hippos, but I did do it on these guys, thankfully. Yeah, that's right, I decided not to be lazy. And the same goes for all these kind of open grass areas. I'll probably fill them all in with trees over stream, because it's simply not great time-lapse footage, and it takes quite a lot of time to do, so it's kind of nice if I was to chat to you guys while doing it. But yeah, you can really start to see this thing taking shape. I mean, you can see me starting to try to transition from these swampy kind of trees and reeds and stuff like that into a more jungly area up here. The idea is that the lower into the ground it gets, the kind of less dense the foliage is, which kind of makes sense, right? So you can see me kind of trying to fade that in slowly until we're up at the river here, and we can finally have a lush kind of jungle which will lead all throughout the zoo, I imagine. But yeah, that is it from the Pygmy Hippo exhibit. I really hope you guys enjoyed. Of course, if you did, hit the subscribe button. If you have any suggestions for stuff to add to the zoo, make sure to put them in the comments. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!